All right, guys, so today is June 14th. Didn't even need to look. It's my birthday. It's Flag Day. It's also President Trump's birthday. Um, we've got a lot to go over today. More of the kind of recap of this craziness in the market, but also a few main watches, and then we'll get into, you know, what I kind of expect out of this week. So, different background today. I decided this year, instead of just doing the whole laptop and the extra screens that I usually do, it's just not enough. It's not enough in this market. I'm going to be stressed out every single day that I come up to the beach, and it's just not going to be worth it. So, this setup here, doing the same thing that I've done at my office, same thing that I've done at my house, is cheaper than not having it, in my opinion. So I want to feel good about being able to come here. I want to be able to feel good about being prepared, having the same keyboard, mouse, hotkeys, everything that I'm used to, as well as being able to see, my trade idea, my trade ideas and scans, as well as all the other scanner news and all that kind of stuff that I use. So, anyway, let's get right into it. First and foremost, I don't have an account management program, so I am getting hundreds of messages that I can't even keep up with. So I appreciate you guys giving me the heads up, but I've been putting it in my story. I've been putting it in the post. I'm aware of it, and every service is being targeted. So. There's nothing that we can do. Instagram blames COVID-19, even though, it's not like they can't make changes at home. They're all working at home potentially. You don't need to be in an office to ban accounts, but unfortunately they're enabling the fraud to happen. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys know that I never have and never will manage anybody's money. As far as this week, never have I ever anticipated or expected that this was, I knew it was possible, but I didn't expect it to be able to be compounded in the same manner. It's one thing to have some good returns and build an account and then continually build that, compounding that account essentially. But being able to keep up with almost the same percentage gains at a higher level, a much larger account, is something that I really have not kind of mentally prepared for before. So I think I'm doing a good job at it. I think I'm doing a good job at managing it. Each day is new. I'm just trading the process, and that's really about it. One of the biggest things on my notes today, I'm not here taking a victory lap because I traded well, right? Because as you guys know, the market's going to humble us tomorrow if we start to get cocky, if we bring our ego, or if we start to, think we're better than the market, right? So that's why I always suggest next. After every solid day, career week, career day, whatever it may be, next. As if it never happened. As if it was $1,000 gain. As if it was $100 gain. And also the same thing on losses. The faster that you can get over the fact that you just lost and get back to that same level, the same level that you need to come down from, right here. That's where you need to be. So when you're killing it, you got to reset here each day. When you're getting smoked, you got to reset here each day. Otherwise, it's going to be off. You're not going to be able to recover. You're going to be doing things that you shouldn't be doing, and that's what makes trading tough, right? So trading is really about the passion, the drive, the continual improvement and desire to be better and better than yourself yesterday. And I often compare this to working out. I've used that as an example a bunch of times. I've invited you guys all to do the Zoom workouts with me as well as other traders. So I know a lot of you guys work out on your own, but for those of you guys that are kind of, on the line and maybe it's almost stepping over but not, try it. And I'd rather see you try to get in shape first, try to hold yourself accountable in that sense, than open an account and see if you can, stay accountable in that sense. Stay accountable with risk management, right? It's training the same thing over and over and over again. And if you can do it, then think about trading. And so the biggest thing about right now is everybody in the circles is crushing it. Oh, I shouldn't say everybody, because that's my point here. So most people are crushing it, not all people. And if you're part of these circles and these guys are crushing it and you're not, you feel like you're underperforming. If you see all these guys posting big P&Ls on Twitter, you feel like you're underperforming. But the thing about this, just like working out, just like running a marathon, just like doing the Pan Mass Challenge, which is, I think, 190 miles on a bike, if you try to do it all in one day, you're going to get hurt. If you try to deadlift 450 pounds, 500 pounds, you're going to blow your back out. If you try to run a marathon, you're not going to be able to walk tomorrow, and you're probably going to pass out. Same thing with riding a bike 190 miles. It's just not happening. So think about it in terms of that. Just like you work out, you build up, you build up, you build up. You're training those muscles for the main event, right? And so Friday we had the main event. CHNR, CTIB, among many other names. We prepare for days like that. And so the problem is when everybody's killing it, you feel like you're doing something wrong. And you start to push it. You start to overstay. You start to come away from what has built you as a trader because you feel like you're being left out. You feel like you're not part of what's happening. And that is the worst thing that you can do. If you're not doing well right now, take a step back, reevaluate, because as soon as you start to become P&L centered, when you start to try to chase P&L, it's going the other way. It's going to go the other way right away. Because what happens, same thing when I recover from a loss, right? If I take a loss, a decent sized loss, the next day, whatever I'm up is not good enough, right? But had it been another day without the loss, that would have been a great gain. So the problem is we think that it's not enough, so we overstay, and then it ends up depleting, and it's gone. So I've seen some people that are doing that. I see some other people that are kind of pushing the envelope, trying to get anticipate the squeeze because they didn't get the borrows, things like that, and then they end up getting smoked. So be aware that if everybody's killing it around you, just keep doing what you're doing. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and if you try to just attack that marathon head on without training, you're going to get smoked. And you need to be aware of that. You need to not be influenced by other people. Holding these huge P&Ls every single day is just the low-hanging fruit kind of magnet that services are trying to do. They're trying to pull people in, flashing P&Ls every single day because it's what you want. You want to surround yourself with those people because you think you're going to be able to replicate it. So, it's not the case. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. But the key is to not force the trades and do what you do when you're performing the best. When you're performing the best, just keep doing that. And over time, you will have your day, you will have your week, you will have your year. It's been 17 years to get to this point for me since I traded. This is triple my best year ever already. And, who knows? Who knows where we go from here? But as long as I keep trading the process, anything is possible. If I start to get away from that, then who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, right? So the key is to always stay firing on all cylinders. Always just stay in your lane, keep on going, and stop focusing on what other people are doing. Like I said last week, somebody's always making more. So, last two Sunday scans, I talked about how people were going to start losing a lot of money real quickly. Okay? So when I talk about this and when I say it on Twitter and stuff, I'm not making fun of people. I'm making you guys aware that we are in a funny business market right now. It's just like if you go back, I think 2 years ago, when you went to Thanksgiving and your cousin's sister's mother's brother asked you about Bitcoin and Litecoin. We're there. We're almost there, rather. But when I was talking to people about it this past weekend, I was kind of sharing my thoughts. I think that this is going to last longer because, one, the ease of buying stock is so much easier than buying Bitcoin, exchanging it into Ethereum, exchanging it into an altcoin, figuring out, having to do all that research, sending it over these sketchy ways, and kind of figuring out how to work a wallet, right? So you figure there's only a small percentage that figure out how to do that. Whereas here, us, all we have to do is open a Robinhood account, bam, done, we're good, right? So I think that this is going to last a lot longer for that reason, number one. Number two, a lot of people say, sports gambling, gamblers like Barstool Sports, all this kind of stuff. Everybody's coming into this market to get their fix, right? Same thing, casinos. People can't go to casinos. Now they can start, but you can't go to casinos to get your fix or gamble, right? So you come to the market. Fine. Casinos reopen, sports reopen. I don't think people are going to leave the market. The market has a way of just pulling people in, and you're stuck. You're stuck. You ever try to take a day off? You've seen me. I can't take a day off, right? So I think that market has that funny way of just keeping people involved. It's, you just look at your phone. Okay, oh, I missed a 70-cent gainer today. Oh man, that thing went up 300%, right? It's always going to be pulling people back. And the third thing was that I think that, sure, maybe this past week was max FOMO, max craziness, max ridiculousness. I mean, I've never seen stuff like that before. CHNR, CTIB, KBSF, all gapping up and then just closing at the lows. Fortunately, as you guys know, I was short from pre-market, but I think that was max stupidity or max fear of missing out, right? And will that put the chill pill on things for a little bit? I do think it will until there's the next runner. And then that next runner, everybody has short-term memory. They kind of forget that they just got crushed. Now they have to do the make back. And then all they have to do is put in some funds, and it's just so much easier than a Bitcoin or a Litecoin, anything like that. On top of that, we also had a huge bounce in Bitcoin. So you remember it was dead for maybe 2 years. So I think that there could be something similar to that maybe in 6 months from now, but I don't think it's going to be for 2 years. I just think the ease of coming into the market is just so much easier than trying to get involved with coins that I just think that the demand for things is just going to be off the rocker. So I think we have a solid 2 years of craziness. Maybe not like last week, but I think we have a solid 2 years of intense range, intense volume, intense action, and we'll see what happens. This is stuff that I've never seen before. Again, what I was getting at, people are going to lose a lot of money. So GNUS, you saw what happened. This past week, IZEA, I warned on Thursday and I warned on Friday that we have a UAVS situation. If you guys remember, UAVS pitched this huge announcement into their conference call, and it just went from 4 to 1. 4 to 120, something like that, as soon as they announced that it was nothing, right? So IZEA just did the same thing, except they did one better. They announced an offering, an ATM in the morning, and then said their big announcement is at 3 p.m. So they bought themselves 6 hours to sell paper. That's how smart the CEO is, because he knows how dumb the investors are. He's taking advantage of traders who are just buying and have no idea of reality. No risk management, no anything. So they announced Shake, whatever that is, which is it's nothing. If this stock was 30 cents like it was 2 months ago, maybe it went to 32 cents, right? So it's just a sign of the times. It's the market. It's message boards. It's stock twits. It's all these people that just, it's Robinhood that think they are smart because price has rewarded them. And that is the biggest issue right now, is people think they know what they're doing because they're rewarded by price. And as soon as this ends, it's going to be bad. And you need to be aware of it. You need to have risk management because you will blow your account. And the point that I made on Twitter this past week is most people won't realize that they were rich or that they had made it or that, you know, they were up a lot until it's gone. So if you are the person that's gone from 50K to 100K or 25K to 200K or 100K to 300K, wire out 200 grand. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of life-changing money. But it'll be gone like that if you don't. So be aware of that. XSPA, same thing. Just to give you an example, I just looked at the notifications on StockTwits and people were like, you know, I'm getting squeezed, blah, 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 like as in me, because I had warned at $2.60 that, you know, I felt like this was going down. Meanwhile, they think I'm down, you know, 100%, but the stock did a 3-for-1 reverse split. So essentially that 240, 260, whatever it was, is 840. 840. The stock's at $5 right now. So you can't fix that. People are unwilling to learn. They think they know what's best for them just because, you know, they're being rewarded for reckless decisions. But you know, it is what it is, and we have to adapt. As short sellers, you know, I go long and short just as much, but I prefer shorting. But as a short seller, you have to be aware of that, because if you do a normal short sell based on what typically would happen, it's not like that right now. You got to wait a little bit. You got to wait for that next move. You got to be patient with your entry, because if you try to get in the front side, you're going to get ran over. And then I think last but not least, I never speak badly about anyone or anything, but I think that it needs to be said. People need to be made aware, because people are putting a lot of P&Ls out. And when I first started, you get on message boards and you see, oh my gosh, this guy is crushing it. He made a bunch of money. You know, I got to follow him because he just put up 115,000, 120,000, 150, whatever it may be. He knows what he's doing. I'm going to follow him. And then they offer a live stream of them trading real time, as well as their own members. And normally, like I said, I would never say anything, but people are going to lose their shirt. They're getting fleeced left and right. And you know, when I'm talking about this, I don't want comments in the comment section of who it is. If this matches who you think it is, it probably is that person. But you guys need to be super, super cautious. This is insane times. It started with ITRM, it moved into JFIN. JFIN had 8,000 shares, 8,500 shares or so traded. And a newsletter alerted it long, immediately ramped it to 10, 11, and just went long. So, you know, long out, long out, long out, long out throughout the day, creating liquidity, creating volume, creating their own play. And the same thing happened on CHNR. Long, 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 long at $5. Stock closed at 110 or 130, excuse me, after hours. And the reason, the biggest thing here, now this is kind of, it's manipulation, 100%. But the problem is, you know, there's nothing wrong with it unless you can prove intent, right? So it's kind of like you telling the cop, well, yes, sir, I didn't know I was going 130 miles an hour in a 30. No, I swear, I didn't know. But really, do you not know that you maybe were pushing the pedal a little bit much? I don't know, you know? The problem and the deceit and the fraud is that at 5, they're saying, I'm going to add. I'm going to add at 510. I'm going to add at 510. Then I'm going to add at 520. And if it pulls back, they say they're out. I'm out at 5 or whatever it may be. So as they say they are adding, they're actually selling. And this is terrible, especially on low float stocks that you know you can influence. There's a reason in my room that I don't alert low float stocks, right? If you have a membership, if you have a bunch of traders, if you have a bunch of people in the room, if you're the owner of a website, you know whether or not you could potentially influence something, right? I mean, how could you not? So it's, in my opinion, it's the duty of the person who's running the membership, the newsletter, to not alert low float stocks. But they do it anyway, and they lead them right into disaster. And this week it was terrible. It was bad. And you saw it: CTIB, CHNR, JFIN, ITRM. You could say you get out, whatnot, but people that are learning, the hardest part about trading is they don't take losses. They don't take losses. So you're leading people into disaster knowingly. And when you try to force a circuit halt, manipulate it into a circuit halt, it's not good. So people need to be aware of it. If this makes sense with a service for you, if what I'm saying makes sense, you've seen it, run. Stay away, run. It's not good. So anyway, that's it. Like I said, I never speak badly about anyone. I'm not naming any services, but it's gone too far, and I think a lot of people are probably being targeted and marketed for particular services, and I just want you guys to know. So let's get right into what's happening. So we've got IZEA. IZEA, this is going to be main watch tomorrow. I am short. I wrote the whole thing out. I talked about it on the broadcast on Friday. We were leading into that 3 p.m. I thought it was going to be a disaster, but that doesn't mean that you just go, crazy short, right? You can't. In this market, you can't. Sure, in hindsight, I should have been double short and never had a box, blah, 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 blah. But that's all in hindsight. So for me, I basically got short, and then I went long, right? I boxed the trade. I did a blog post on that, if you guys don't know what that means. So what happened was, when the news came out and everybody realized it was nothing, the bid dropped, went into a circuit halt. But it came back up to the 260. So at first I was a little frustrated because I was only about 1/3 short. But it came all the way back up to the 260s. And while other people couldn't hit the bid because the SSR was on, I could with my long because I was boxed. So I sold the entire box at 260s. I kept my net short from 262, flushed down to 160s. I covered about 1/3 to probably about 40% at 160s, ramped back up. After hours, it went to 190s, and as I said in the room, I was re-leaning on it. So higher the better. I would welcome $2, $2.20. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going back under $1 near term. I think CEO fleeced shareholders. He knew exactly what he was doing. His goal is to raise as much money as possible while the stupidity remains. And, he did a great job at it. He put an ATM out and sold all day while, you guys were waiting, not you guys, but while people were waiting for 3 p.m. And keep in mind, people are going to say this is big news, this is great, but they're stuck. They're stuck in the name. They're trying to, they're believing everything. So with that said, let me pull up IZEA. So you can see, I'm still getting used to this setup because I haven't traded on it yet, but you can see it's just kind of in a holding pattern. And so they can just sell all day. Then it comes out, it rallies. I never in a million years expected it to come back up to 260s, but we got lucky and then ended up being a perfect opportunity. So again, ideally it comes back up to this level. I just don't think it's going to. But I'm looking to potentially fade it for the next short term. Just like NAKD, if you guys remember that one. It's been a while now, but we also had some news on that after hours that day where it popped up. And this was after hours. So basically I got short, I boxed it, and I sold that long, remained short, reboxed it this day, and I posted this on Twitter, reboxed it, sold that long, and I'm still short. So that would be ideal. If we look at this, I would love for IZEA to happen in that manner, back under $1. mRNA. Higher the better. You can look left. We've got 63, 62 as sort of the key areas. And then under 60, 60, 50 or so. I don't want to trade it in the chop, right? You can see that 63 is going to have an issue. The only reason I put it back on scan is just because there's some headlines with COVID. I think Austin, Texas is starting to spike back up, as well as a few others. So we might have it. We might be gapping down. We might have some rocky action, especially the fact that all this reopening is starting to turn the numbers up. I know it's expected probably, but if it's going at a faster pace than we expect, who knows? Plus, it's summer. People like to party. People like to get together. It could still be really bad. CHNR, CTIB, KBSF, all same thesis. They pretty much came back to where they came from. I think that we could gap up on some of them just because people are just so badly bent that nobody's going to be a seller, and people are going to want to bump them up to be able to fade them back down again. So, reactively looking for a trade, I think we could see some Twitter pumps and things like that, try to get them going again. But for the most part, I mean, some very fortunate people got some very fortunate exits at some crazy prices. And I don't see any reason why these would go any higher. Higher the better, though. And ideally backside. Maybe on Tuesday with some buy-ins, Tuesday, Wednesday, we might have some type of push. But other than that, I don't see anything really exciting for them. FMCI was fantastic. This was a nice reactive trade on Friday. I got short, unwound it for about $1.20 per share. And then I traded back right over here, this double top, flushed out, and left it alone. So basically, I'd be looking for maybe a 1350 to a 1380 push, verse 14 as sort of the risk, and then a potential backside unwind. XSPA, higher the better. This one was the one I was talking about, just did a reverse split. ABCD type breakout, comes back, stuffs, fades off. So I had put on a small short into the ramp, but then I could have located it at center point, but I only got a couple at E-Trade, so I'm hoping that they gap this thing up and maybe 586, 620, and then I'm looking for a fade. But they'll have borrows in the morning, I'm sure, but I just wasn't looking for the trade really on Friday. So other than that, on the continuation, so again, if you go to the link in the scan, you click continuation, or you click the link in the description for the scan, you can see all the comments and also the trades. But under this thing here, it says continuation. So basically, I'm looking at these charts for potential continuation. So a thin name, what I like about it is it had 29 million volume. So this is what I would consider one of those liquidity trap events that I went over on the Traders for a Cause, the Project Impact. You guys can watch that video for free. And we've talked about it a few times here. But basically, watch dips. You can see Wick came back down, scooped up. So I'd be watching if 450 starts to base and we start to cross over 5. I'm interested as to what the potential could be. Other than that, not really, don't really care about it. HDSH, no position, nice daily chart. This type of move has been working well. I'd watch it over 80. That's about it. Jack, another thin one. Nice little runner on Friday. I sold. So typically, if I want to gap something, I like to sell. If it closes really strong, I like to sell a bunch of it and hope for a pullback. And that way, I can re-add on a pullback, or at least if it doesn't gap up, I'm not on the same side as everybody else who is stuck long without taking any gains. ARTW ramped up into the close, so I just had grabbed some. I guess I'm pretty much flat on it at this point, but it ramped up. Again, I just traded it myself. This would be nothing that I would alert, but it felt like they maybe were coming for it, and maybe toy with it on Monday. So we'll see what happens with that. DYAI, nice breakout chart. I'd be watching verse 850s or so, or rather 8. I'm thinking if it starts to set up for a nice little breakout, we could have a potential breakout type trade. So those are just more of long ideas. If they start to consolidate and we start to see those wicks that I talk about, dips, rebound, dips, rebound, dip, rebound, and then they break over some type of resistance. So the only one I have small Jack. I sold most of it into the close. ARTW, I have small. The other ones I'm just watching. Other than that, XRF, higher the better. Ideally, maybe a 280 push or 3, and then some type of backside. I think that what I've noticed is this trend. They swipe something up. Next day it's red, and then the next day it goes. I actually had a position on this from this first day, and then the next day it kind of was red. And then on Friday, I actually sold it at $2, and then I watched it go another 50%. So what I learned from that, though, is that just because if it rips up one day, CLPS did the same thing, and it closes the next day, if it starts to go and breaks over that prior level, don't take it off radar, because those things have been going really nicely lately. But unfortunately, I just keep on selling too soon. Lake, I'm thinking fades off people's radar. Ideally comes up towards 20, and then I think we can go under 18. I would not want to be short if 20 starts to base and it gets over this 20 level or so. So higher the better. Backside unwind, off people's radar. Eventually, maybe we start to fill that gap down here. I mean, it did have a crazy rebound. Wild market, wild times, but it was up. I think it was even higher pre-market, maybe 26 or something. 25s, I guess, and then faded off into the 18s. But I'm thinking we could go to 18 and see what happens with it. ZI, nothing I'm excited about, but I want to watch because I know if I take it off radar, I'll miss it. Volume still feels okay. Friday's volume was super light, so that's the only part that makes me a little nervous. Actually, I guess it wasn't too bad. Maybe it's just not showing up right on big charts. So it's still got about 5 million, which is enough. But if it starts to get to 500K or a million, unless you're swing size, swing position, it gets pretty tough to move around any size on this thing. Last but not least, I have 3 for higher the better and failed follow through. So NAKD, I already went over that. I'm thinking we go back towards 70s here in the short term. So I've just been swinging that short from the trades that I went over before. WAFU, this one, again, this was actually another one by that same newsletter that I was talking about. Just totally, trying to force this thing into circuit halts and things like that. So in a situation like this, I'm looking probably for a push towards 6. I think a lot of people will take it off radar. The borrow will still probably be a little high. So I think it's a deterrent for most people, but I still think we could get a buck or two on the downside. So morning shove, ideally they get some people interested, just like ITRM actually is a good example. Or is that the right one? Nope. IRDM. Nope. Which one was it? Let's see. IMRN. There we go. IMRN. So just like this, right? So if you figure CHNR, CTIB, KBSF, and WAFU, very similar to this, where it goes down and then they cover the crowd. Everybody starts to, oh, it's going again, it's going to do it again, and then unwinds. So I would love to short it just like I did on Friday on this IMRN. And same thing, DPW. I think it'll be off people's radars, higher the better, and then potential fade back towards 2 or so. But possible liquidity trap, 100 million shares, it's holding trend. Ideally, we get more PRs. Ideally, we get more upside, but I'm thinking we kind of unwind. And again, if you click the newsletter link, you'll see I have some other watches. I just want to stay familiar. That's where I find a lot of gems, though. So keep that in mind. You know, I always have a list of like CCL, AAL, NCLH, NVAX, X, DDOG, as well as a few others. And I just set price alerts and I just wait. And when they hit, I'm interested. I already have been there. I've already seen what that stock can do. So keep that in mind. And let's see here. For last week, Gabrielle Tivadar. You can email me and we'll get a shirt sent out to you as well. I think next week is IU for a month. So again, leave your biggest takeaway, whatever it may be. Leave it in the comment section. I read every single one of them. That way I can do better, you know, how I start this scan, you know, with some commentary about the overall market, about how people are feeling, the psychology kind of thing. It helps me know what to talk about, what to help you guys on. So please leave a comment, like, and if you guys hit the subscribe button at the top, if you subscribe, there's a little bell. If you hit the bell, it will push to your phone and it will send you an email as soon as the Sunday scan comes out every week. So that is about it. I will be in the room bright and early tomorrow. If you guys have any questions, reach out. You know where to reach me. And that's it.